Hello, this is Anne Vivian. I hope you enjoy the following video. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Here on Creative Psyche Studio, I put my Integrative Mystic podcast episodes, which can also be found on mindbodyspirit.fm. And I also post guided meditations, pick a card readings, collective readings, and tarot messages by zodiac sign and more. I'm expanding the channel. So thank you again so much for tuning in. If you do like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Welcome to Integrative Mystic. This is Anne Vivian. I am so excited you've joined me. I'm so excited to share this interview with podcaster and broadcaster and producer and director of some really cool online radio and now podcast network situations. I'm so excited to share this interview with Diane Ray. And then I'm going to give a collective reading at the end of this show. So I want to welcome you into this space, friend. We are integrative mystics. We're integrating the cosmic realm. Feel that starlight and sunlight, even if it's not shining on you. Recognize its presence. Feel where it is. Feel the earth under you. Feel your heart connecting all of these realms. And know that you are in the here and now, as you are present, integrating many, many dimensions in a beautiful and balanced way. Welcome to the show. Let me tell you a little bit about Diane Ray. Diane has been working in radio broadcasting for over 30 years, since she first cracked the mic at age 19 at WSHE She's Only Rock and Roll in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at their amateur hour. Diane worked most of her career in Miami, Florida market, with stops in Austin, Texas, working for Star System Network, and landing in San Diego, California in 2003, working at the legendary KGB FM. Diane also worked at NPR affiliate KPBS in San Diego before spending 11 years in digital media and online broadcasting as the network radio manager for HayHouseRadio.com, an online radio network owned by Hay House Publishing. In 2017, Diane started working at the Unity organization as director of programming for Unity Online Radio, where she launched her radio show podcast, Be Present, The Diane Ray Show. By the way, I highly recommend it. It's an awesome podcast. And I was actually on the Unity Online Radio briefly before it closed its doors with Diane Ray. In 2019, Diane launched the mindbodyspirit.fm podcast network with business partner Tina Williamson, where they continue to curate and publish leading podcasters in the mind, body, spirit space. And I am very honored to be on that network. And I'm honored to share with you this interview with Diane. We talk about her experiences. We talk about her reflections and our reflections on modern spiritual leaders, spiritual authors, modern spirituality, and what she's noticed working with some of the leading authors in the metaphysical community of our time. She also even gives some advice for starting your own spiritual podcast. I had so much fun in this interview, and I always learn so much from my interviewees, from my guests, and I learned a lot from Diane, and I hope you do and you enjoy this interview as much as I did. And like I said, there's a collective reading I give at the end. So without further ado, here is the interview with Diane Ray. Enjoy. Diane Ray, thank you so much for joining me here on my show.
Well, I'm so happy we have some time to meet today.
I'm so happy as well. I'm so excited that we get to talk about you and your journey. And I wanted to start by asking you, speaking of your journey, and I've already given a little background and bio of Diane, but speaking of your journey in this industry, I was wondering if you could talk to us about the experience of working with some of the most famous cutting edge spiritual authors and leaders of this time, and how that's impacted your understanding of modern spirituality.
Wow. Well, I mean, in so many ways, I guess just to answer the first part, um, in my coming up in the radio world. So I was a DJ for many years, worked at rock stations and had a lot of fun with that. But I was also always interested in the bigger picture. I had the tarot cards. Well, when I was younger, I would be the weird girl with the tarot cards at the slumber party kind of thing, and giving readings to your friends and playing with all of that stuff. So I was always interested in metaphysical things and had some weird experiences that I could never explain. So I was always interested in that kind of world. But continuing on in my radio career, I just was doing that, and then it kind of got to a point where I moved out to Southern California for a job at a rock station. And then I ended up getting fired along with a bunch of other people. It was a big bloodbath. And then I started working for KPBS, which is the public radio station, the NPR affiliate here in San Diego. So I went from a flame-throwing rock station to support for KPBS comes from listeners like you. So it was a big difference from going from that to KPBS. And I thought, oh, my career is over. This is it. Like, this is the bottom of the barrel for DJs. And I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. And I didn't know if anything was going to happen at KPBS. And I remember I was scrolling through Monster and I saw an ad for Hay House. Hay House Radio was just launching at that time. And online radio was still kind of in its infancy. But I zeroed in on Hay House because I had the self-help book section at home. I had Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer. And so I always had that interest. And so I contacted Hay House, and the job was for radio producer. And I'm like, I'm your girl. So I went down there and interviewed, and actually was hired. I started working with Summer McStravick. So she hired me, and we both worked on Hay House Radio and built that up. And that was really my introduction to all of these amazing teachers, people that I had read about. And then I was able to work with them. So it was like a dream come true in a lot of ways. And I remember the first time I met Louise and really interacted with her. And I had only been there a short time, and there was a Christmas party, and Louise was really into Hay House Radio and she loved it. And I remember she grabbed my hand and she goes, I'm so glad you're here. And I was just so happy. I'm like, oh, Louise is so happy I'm here. And so there was a lot of great interactions and so much growth and so many things I learned over that time at Hay House Radio. And really everything that I learned in my radio career, I kind of did amplified plus 10 at Hay House Radio. Like, I did copywriting and did a radio show and worked with the engineers and voiceover. Like, everything I had learned prior, I put into use at Hay House Radio. So it was kind of like I was gearing up for that position. And it was just an amazing 11 years.
I loved Hay House Radio. I love Hay House. I love Louise Hay. It's so fascinating, your journey from the rock and roll station to Hay House Radio. Hay House Radio has got spiritual rock stars.
They were
rock stars. So I'm curious, Diane, your interactions with Louise Hay and Summer McStravick, and I mean, just so many amazing speakers and authors and spiritual leaders, a few of which are still working with you today.
Yes.
With MindBodySpirit.fm. Tell me, how did that inform your understanding of spirituality? Did it change your view about, because I also was the weird tarot girl. I still am. I love that you shared that. And did it influence your spiritual practice? Did it influence your understanding of spirituality?
Oh, in so many ways. Everything just grew and expanded because I always had questions. I was brought up in the Catholic tradition, and there were so many beautiful things about that. And I love ritual and all of that. And that was a lot of Catholicism. And I had I was communionized, confirmed. I did all of that. And I remember in those studies, I would always ask questions, and I wasn't really getting the answers that I wanted, from the traditional. Even though that was a great base, I still had more questions. And I just learned so much from Louise and from Wayne, and about the spirit world, and things that I knew to be true, but that I was afraid to ask in the traditional setting, like life after death, and uh, angelic connection, and connecting with spirit on the other side, and things like that, things that I kind of knew to be true, but were afraid to really ask in another setting when I was younger. So yeah, I mean, I learned so much from Louise. I learned to pay attention to my thoughts and what I was thinking, and how powerful that can be. If you think I'm a big fat slob, I'm useless, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that, it's going to affect every area of your life. And if you switch that, and think, I really do love myself, and I did everything. I did the mirror work, and I remember thinking, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. I'm looking in the mirror. I love you. I really love you. And at first you think it's dumb, but then you really do start to feel love for yourself. And what she was teaching was really so powerful. And I learned so much from Dr. Dyer, and working with him all those years. And I was I call his Ed McMahon, or second banana. And I would answer the calls. He would connect in Maui, and I would just sit back and listen. And I would listen to how he touched people, and how
Yeah.
giving he was, and also a complete person. He wasn't just an icon, but still a flawed human being like the rest of us. In between the talking to people or something, he would share parts of his life. And he was very honest on his radio show, and he shared about alcohol addiction, or how he, problems that he was having. And he was very human. So I saw that piece as well. And he was just an amazing person. And I found that would seep into my life, where I'd be at happy hour with the girls or something, and I'd say, Wayne Dyer said this, or something like that. And people would look at me like, what are you talking about? But it would seep in, the teachings would seep in, and I would want to share it, with other people. And just there's so many amazing stories. And even, and like with Summer, and watching her evolve into an amazing teacher, to what she's doing now, as an
Yeah.
author and a speaker. And at the time, she was kind of putting her toe in the water, not really, uh well, obviously not really doing what she's doing now, like, but now she's holding seminars and retreats and all of that, and kind of watching that evolvement, with some other people too. Nancy Levin, who's an amazing life coach and teacher, and talks a lot about
Oh
boundaries.
yeah, I remember Nancy.
Yeah, she
Okay,
was the event
yeah.
director at the time. She was the
Okay.
person running the events, and she would be on stage introducing the speakers and things like that. And then she became an amazing speaker in her own right. So seeing people evolve and
Yeah.
grow was really a cool thing. And yeah, it was really crazy. And seeing some, I had never seen a live mediumship demonstration, until I was working in Hay House, and being able to watch people like John Holland or James Von Prague, and at the time Sylvia Brown. She was like a big author
Oh
uh,
yeah,
at Hay
Sylvia.
House at the time.
Yeah.
So watching watching those things happen. Carolyn Mace. I mean, I've seen her speak where
Wow.
people were just, didn't know what hit them. And she
Yeah.
would present this incredible information. So I did learn so much. It really helped me grow. Working with Wayne, so many teachers that he would mention, like Paramahansa Yogananda. I started reading a lot of his work. I read Autobiography of a Yogi. There was another teacher, Ramana Maharshi. Like, he would mention these incredible Eastern philosophers and teachers, and Ram Dass, and actually through the Hay House world, I was able to meet Ram Dass, and I had read a lot of his stuff. And Alan Cohen actually was able to broker that meeting, and I got to meet Ram Dass in Maui and spend a little time with him. So many incredible things came out of that experience. And I'm still bringing those things that I learned into what I'm doing now, you know?
And you are an amazing podcaster and interviewer and interviewee as well. And this is so incredibly interesting to me to hear about all of these experiences and all you learned from Hay House and your evolution as well. I'm just envisioning you meeting people, you having this sense as you started this journey with Hay House of the spirit world and your own intuition and that dimension, and then meeting these really big people in, on the scene who are published authors and who are talking about it, and just maybe more of a this is real kind of way, and that
Right.
being a spiritual awakening. Sometimes I think it's so hard when someone is first opening up to greater levels of spiritual awareness, and they're surrounded by people who are cut off from spirit, who are quote non-believers, who don't believe in an expanded spiritual reality. And I can imagine that you being around those people and around people who not only believe, but this is part of their lifestyle and this is what they're teaching, really opens that up for you and your faith as well.
Oh, absolutely. It did. And it deepened it. It's things are still growing and expanding. I'm still learning things all the time. It's very funny that my husband, who is a self-proclaimed Jewish atheist and does not agree with a lot of what he would call woo woo or things like that. um I'm just like, how did that happen? But it did. I
Opposites
found
attract.
right, opposites attract. It did enable me to find my tribe, I guess, and be in a safe place where we could talk about those kinds of things, and to cultivate a meditation practice and deepen that. I mean, I was a big daydreamer, which I guess Summer would tell you as her flow dreaming techniques, what she teaches, and I never kind of made that connection that it really is very similar, where I would just zone out. Oh, I'm daydreaming, doodling. I would doodle on things, which would drive my mother crazy. But then when I came to Hay House and I learned how to kind of channel that into more of a meditation practice from David G., who's an amazing meditation teacher and Hay House author. And he taught all of us, all of our Hay House radio crew, how to meditate, to where at the end of the day, we would sit in the conference room and we would all meditate together. And I had just some amazing, really deep meditations in those groups. And if you had told me prior to a few years before, oh, you're going to be sitting with people in silence, I'd say, no way, that's just weird. But now I really crave that community to do that. There's actually a group of Buddhists down the street, believe it or not. They're called the Dharma Bums. And if you go there in the mornings, they have a silent meditation and you can just sit there. And sometimes if I have time in the morning, I'll just go and sit with them. And luckily I can walk there. But you crave that. There's like an amazing energy that is gathered together when people are just sitting in that silence. And so I learned to really crave silence. Like now when I walk, I don't listen to anything. I'll just try to be in silence and be happy with that. Before I would, I have to listen to this. I have to hear music. Even when I first started to try to meditate, I'm like, I have to have the perfect music. It's got to be, sitars or some weird thing. And now I learned to really just sit in the stillness, or as David G. would call, be in the gap. So I've learned to work with that, and I'm still working. It's a practice. Do I do it all the time? No. Honestly, no. But I know the benefit of it and how important it can be. So yeah, so many things that I've learned, and bringing that with me in my own travels. And then when I left Hay House and I had the opportunity to work with the Unity organization, I was not really familiar with Unity prior to that. And I really learned their philosophy. And I thought, wow, this is like the best kept secret. How come nobody knows about Unity? They're so cool.
I
They
love
love
Unity.
everybody. And then I explored a Unity church here because before I took the job, I wanted to see, what is this, as I call it, like, do I want to
Sure.
be involved? And I thought, this is so cool to sit with a group of people where in the, I guess you'd call it a sermon. It's not really, in the talk, she'd say, well, Lao Tzu said this, Jesus said this, Buddha said this, Paul from Corinthians said this. And to be able to tie all the spiritual traditions together, which Unity does so beautifully, and present it in a way that there's not the judgment that comes with a lot of other things. You don't have to turn your life over to something to be saved because you're a horrible human. You're taught that you're a beautiful piece of the divine. And I loved it. So I fell in love with their message and I learned so much from them. They're a wonderful organization, went out to Kansas City, saw the whole thing. And it's so amazing to be in the middle of like the Midwest meat capital of the world. And, like there's this whole beautiful campus that the Fillmore started with the Unity movement. I learned a lot from them, really beautiful. And then from there, to be able to kind of take everything I've learned over all this time and try to build this podcast network with mindbodyspirit.fm. And that's where I met my business partner, Tina, at Unity. She comes from a Unity background, and she's also an amazing advertising and marketing executive with this incredible wealth of knowledge. And she was the VP of marketing for Mark Cuban before he became a billionaire with a B. I mean, she brings all of this incredible knowledge and commitment to what she does. So we kind of came together and then are now building this network, and we're happy you're a part of it. So you're helping us to do
So
this.
happy to be a part of it. And we actually met at Unity Online Radio right before it transitioned.
Unfortunate demise. Yeah.
Unfortunate demise. And you were doing a great job with Unity Online Radio. And I was, really honored to be a part of that, even for the small
short amount
before it made its transition. And I'm really excited to be a part of mindbodyspirit.fm with Diane and Tina. And, you can feel Diane's experience as you work with her, as us podcasters work with the Diane and Tina team. And it's, you can just feel all of your experience behind how you're helping us and managing it. So it's so interesting, the description of, just to comment on something you said a long time ago, the spirituality of meeting spiritual leaders, but seeing their human side, their human flaws. Like you were giving the example of Mr. Dyer. Thank you. Wayne Dyer. You were giving the example of Wayne Dyer and how he was pretty transparent. And I think that's something really, really special about modern spiritual leaders in this metaphysical community are a lot more honest and vulnerable, I would say, in general. And, please let me know if you have experienced this or agree or not. There's just more of an openness to the humanity and less of a, I know everything and I'm going to teach you, but we're all in this together and we're all learning together. I'm not perfect. And we can grow together, actually.
No, I think that's a great point. And when you're looking for people out there that are looking or attracted to a certain person or teacher or their teachings, be aware of that. People aren't perfect, and there's been some co-opting, I think, over the past couple of years of some craziness in the wellness community. And I won't call out, any names, but a lot of misinformation and kind of fear mongering and things like that. And I think you have to be discerning in what is going to touch you and how you can benefit from a person's teachings. And I think, keeping in mind that they are human and they're not perfect. Nobody knows for sure. I mean, even I remember people that say, I know what's going to happen when you die, and this is it. And one of the teachers, I can mention her because she's no longer with us, Sylvia Brown. And she would say, when you're in the afterlife, everybody's 33 years old. And like, she had like these certain very specific things that she felt to be true. And I thought, well, how do you know that's true? You
Yeah.
don't know. The only people that really know are there, right? And I also think that it's an individual process that everybody goes through when they transition, where, I don't know, you may go to another consciousness on another planet. I may go to another consciousness somewhere else in another universe or galaxy. Like, I don't know. We don't, I think just don't think that you know for
Yeah.
sure.
There's a
And
certain
so I,
amount of humbleness that is
yes,
quality of a true someone who's truly connected with spirit.
I think so. I think that you have to always be open to question. And
Yeah.
maybe it is that way, but I don't know. But I'm open to finding out. I'm open
Yeah.
to
And
seeing.
I would trust someone. I do trust people that I run into or listen to or follow or take a class from or what have you, who appear more open and flexible. To me, it's like being in touch with the yin. If you're too dominant in your yang and your masculine, um, you're not going to have that receptivity and that ability to be flexible and open, go into the void. I don't know. Let's embrace the unknown. Part of me is, I'm human, so part of me doesn't know everything. And if I can open myself to that in an empowered way, then I'm opening more of the I'm opening more to the authenticity of my consciousness. And I think also opening to the authenticity of my consciousness is admitting I'm not perfect. This is what I'm presenting right now. This is how I understand things right now. Take what I say and that works and leave the rest. This is my understanding of reality. You might have a different understanding of reality. I tend to be more attracted to spiritual leaders and practitioners who come across with that kind of paradigm rather than, I know the truth, I'm going to present the truth to you, you don't know the truth, so now I'm going to teach it to you, and then once I teach it to you, you will have the wisdom, and I'm just going to basically download it, and I know I'm right and you're wrong. And people don't like that anymore. People don't. I think Sylvia Brown came from a different generation, and I honestly think Sylvia needed to survive. Like, psychics of that era needed a certain kind of personality to survive, and to survive in the world that they lived in. And they needed to be a little bit more, I think, probably rigid and tough, is in my opinion, a little bit more yang, to just be taken seriously, to deal with all of the battles that they had to fight. But I think that she might have been operating a little bit more from that paradigm. I'm not that familiar with her work, but I did read her biography. It was very fascinating. So I'm wondering if part of it was just that was how her personality needed to be in order to just operate in that community and time. But I think that now people really don't want that. People don't want to be spoon-fed. People don't want someone to just tell them what reality is. It's so much more empowering to discuss, like you were saying with unity. I love that about unity too. I really resonate with that paradigm and that structure and that approach to spirituality. Here's what Paul from the New Testament said. Here's what some teachings from Jesus Christ. Here's Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching, and here's something from Hinduism, and we're looking at this concept from all of these different perspectives, maybe even psychology or musician perspective or biology, and we're looking at this from all these different perspectives. Here's some concepts, here's my impression of it. Now I suggest you explore, what does this mean to you? How can you find your own truth with this? Where do you find your own meaning here? And sometimes on my show, I will be direct and I will be teaching a concept, but I do try to cultivate that integrative, open approach where, like the spiritual authors and teachers that I like to see, there's content there, there's wisdom there, and then there's an invitation for you to explore yourself and for you to look at the different perspectives and decide what makes sense to me. I really resonate with what you're saying there, Diane, and I feel like it really is speaking to, it's not just like modern spirituality, it's modern consciousness. We are a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Trusting of our own judgment, our own intuition, our own awareness, and less inclined to be followers and passive receivers.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, and I feel like, that's what you're, correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of the energy of those experiences that you've been describing.
Oh, no, absolutely. You're 100% right. I mean, I've learned so much from, I'm interested in every tradition, and like the Buddhists down the street, that really resonates with them. And I can take the beauty from that and learn from it. But I do think everybody is individual, and there's no, it shouldn't be like you have to do this or you're going to go to hell. And I don't even think there's a hell anymore. Like, when I was younger, I was terrified of The Exorcist and all of that. And now, like, every Halloween I watch The Exorcist, and I think it's funny, like I laugh. Oh, look at that horrible makeup. Like, it's pea soup. It's ridiculous that people are afraid of. I mean, I do think there's evil in the world, but I don't think there's a guy with a pitchfork any more than I think there's a guy with a long beard looking down upon us, hurling bolts of thunder and judgment. I don't think it's like that. And I've mentioned this before in other interviews, but I just, when I was with Unity, I had the privilege of going to this event called Parliament of the World Religions. It's something that happens every 4 years, and you would love it. It's actually happening this year in August in Chicago. And
Cool.
it was over 250 different faith traditions of every stripe. I went to Buddhist tea ceremonies, Hindu past life readings, the pagans, the goddesses, earth-based religions. It was just a, smorgasbord of stuff. I mean, the one thing that I took from it was pick one if you want or not. It was so impactful and eye-opening that there was all these different ways to come at something. And really the golden rule applies to everything.
Yeah.
Just don't be a horrible person. Treat people how you want to be treated. And it really should be that simple of kindness. And I'm so disturbed to see the proliferation of hate and the fear of the other, and this wave of, I don't know what's happening right now, and hopefully it's a blip. Maybe it's kind of a roller coaster effect. I'm sure there's a name for that. A bell curve of that, where maybe we go through this every couple of generations or something like that. But I'm hoping that's temporary, because I really do believe we all have souls. At our heart, there's got to be some goodness. Even Osama bin Laden or Hitler were babies, right? They were at one point innocent, souls.
Yeah.
And whatever happened to twist that to whatever they became, we don't know. And here's something I'll share too, which might be kind of gross to some people, but I have a friend.
Right, I love it already.
I have a friend she doesn't have it anymore, but she had a crematory business, and it was in Florida. And whenever I would go home to Florida, I would visit her, and I helped her with several cremations. And when everybody ends up in a cardboard box and it's a shell. And I was so taken by, like, some other friends would be afraid to walk in the cooler where all of the people were, but I wasn't. I walked in the cooler and I looked around and I said, all of your lives mattered. Whatever happened to you, you mattered on this planet at some point. And I just felt like they heard me, whoever was in there. And I helped my friend put him in it's called a retort. And I said a little prayer. I go, you mattered to someone on this planet at this time. It was a guy, I think his name was Francisco. And you were someone's father, brother, husband while you were here, and now you're on your way. And we just like shoved him in there. But I guess the point of that, now people are saying, what a weirdo. But it was such a lesson to me, because a lot of times people, you don't see a dead body. We're so removed from that part of life.
Yeah.
We don't see it in other cultures. Hindus burn them on, the whole family gathers around for a cremation ceremony in certain cities. And the one, I think it's called Benares, but we're removed from that. And I felt that it was a gift for me to be able to see, like, I could see that's a shell. When we leave that shell, it's just a carbon piece of whatever, it seemed like they were fake. You would look at people stacked, and it would seem like they were, because they were gone, I guess is what I'm saying. I really felt so strongly that their energy and their soul were somewhere else. And then here's another add-on to that. So my friend gave me the access to her security cameras so I could watch at night in the crematory and see what was happening. And there was some interesting, I caught some things. I'll send you the video if you want to see it. Sure. People have debunked it, and they said that they're orbs and that it's a common phenomenon with cameras. But I believe that there's something there. It's energy, maybe residual. I've had other people look at it, and I think maybe it's just people that are like, wow, I'm out of my body. What's happening? Like maybe there's kind of an adjustment as you leave your body.
I have heard that. I totally believe that, Diane. And by the way, you were definitely less weird than me. I'm definitely winning the championship for weird between the two of us. And I love your kind of weird. But I have I've heard from different metaphysical practitioners that there is a practice of waiting to bury or cremate a body for a few days, because it gives the soul of that person time to transition out of the body that they might hover in or around that body for a few days, just coming to terms with, wow, I died. And so that's why some metaphysical practitioners recommend you don't cremate the body right away, to give a chance for that natural detachment to happen. And I can't remember, I've seen some account of something being taped, some Carillion photography or some kind of video or picture element of energy seeming to escape a body when it was cremated. I'm sorry, I don't have the reference for like, where the hell did you get this, Anne? I don't know. But it was I remember reading this somewhere, seeing it. The idea was it was a little girl. She just hadn't realized that she had, it was a traumatic death, and she just didn't have time to, come to terms with it and leave the body. So were you seeing maybe energy that was coming to terms really quick because the body was now being definitely transformed into ashes? So there's no longer the same kind of, vessel for occupying, or just the energy around, the body. I think that's, it's real. I mean, I've had so many experiences with spirits, and I used to work for hospice, and there's nothing like death to make you appreciate and see the meaning of life. And
I agree. Absolutely. I'll send you the video.
Yeah, send me the video. Your experience with, these the shell of the person, as you said, their remains, and feeling that they weren't there. But there was this strong intuitive feeling you had that they were, continuing to exist, just not here in this form. I have felt that too. And I believe that when we get close to death, it can help us. Well, it sometimes forces us to look at our beliefs, and sometimes offers us an opportunity to see real life and to realize the oneness and the eternity. And it sounds like you had that kind of moment where you were realizing the eternity in the face of kind of a lot of death.
Yes. It was very powerful to assist. And I only assisted in the one, and I wanted to do a little, I said, did like a little, said a few words for the guy. And then, we put him in there, but just being in that space and seeing, I guess it's kind of the great equalizer. Like, you could be the king or of whatever, the richest person in the world, you're still going to end up in that box.
Yeah.
Like everybody,
We all have one appointment we cannot miss.
That's it. And it was very powerful. And she doesn't have that business anymore. And so I do not have access to Cremation Cam anymore, which is what I was calling it. And I'm kind of disappointed because I would log on there at random times, like late at night. What's going on? But I did see some interesting things, and I think that it was some kind of energy or residual energy. And if you see it, you can tell me what you think.
All right. Hopefully it wasn't an uncomfortable being pushed out of the body by someone who wasn't ready, but
I don't think so. I mean, it's just a bunch of, there's a lot of things moving, and some of them are moving kind of intentionally. And the interesting thing, a caveat of that is, as I was looking at the camera at the time when I first logged in, there was no activity or movement. Then there's these people called removal people who in the middle of the night or whatever, when something happens, they bring someone in. So he brought someone in and put him in there in the cooler and left. I watched him leave on the camera. Then I switched back to another camera that it was like they came to see what was happening. It was a reaction to that guy bringing someone new in.
Yeah.
There was no orbs before. People are like,
well,
you're nuts.
No, I mean, you're talking
what
to
is
Anne.
she talking about?
You're talking to Anne. Come on.
Yeah, this is us. What's the talk? We can talk about this kind of stuff. I was blown away.
We speak with the spirits.
Yeah, when I saw this, I was blown away.
Sometimes there's special helper spirits, in my experience, who help those cross over. Sometimes there's spirits of a place, like there could be helper spirits of a morgue that are there to help, or spirit angels, morgue angels, death angels, there to help the people who crossed over, the family, the staff. And sometimes spirits, just discarnated human spirits and different kinds of entities, are attracted to different things. And so it could be a lot of things. But I totally believe you. And it's really cool. I think that's one of the cool things about mediumship as well, is if you get something that really is hard to deny the accuracy of what that medium is saying, and you're kind of on the fence of believing, it's so validating. And it's just it's helpful to remind you, yes, this stuff is real. Spirits are real. Energy is real. We do go on. There is another dimension. And
I have no doubt other people might, like I said, I've shown it to many people, this particular video, and told them the backstory. And some people have said, a friend of mine who is a photographer, I hate to debunk you, but this is blah, 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 this isn't what you think it is. I'm like, okay, if that's what he thought, I'm like, but didn't I told you what happened? This there was nothing there before. And then
someone once said, you cannot prove the existence of God, but you can verify it. I love that, because, and the G word, God, is such a loaded word. The existence of divine intelligence or your higher power. We create our realities with our beliefs and our thoughts. And if you are committed to a certain reality, that will be your reality. I believe in a heaven and a hell because I think we have created them astrally, and that they are temporary, but we have created a reality even in the spirit plane. You can temporarily go to a place that feels like hell because there has been a collective creation of such a place from beliefs. I don't think that that's a real eternal state of being, but I think, if you're talking to someone that doesn't believe in a higher power, it's very difficult to prove it or convince them because of the nature of reality. It's really an internal job. Once you have the awareness, then you can verify it and then you can explore it. But it's really an awareness shift. And I think, that's why in science, it's cool. Some things that are happening in science that are really beginning to prove some metaphysical concepts that are very ancient, but modern science has been divorced from spirituality. They used to, astronomy, astrology, metaphysics, biology, science, it was all kind of intertwined, and now it's not. And I think that, the tension between divine consciousness, the reality of a higher power, God, goddess, spirit, and provable reality, it shows that there is this disconnect in consciousness, and you can't really make someone connect. It's really their reality. And so to me, it's really sad when someone has really subscribed to, I'll see, I only believe in what I see or what I read in a scientific magazine, and not trust their own heart and their own experience beyond the logical. So your conversation with your friend about that, maybe someone like that might benefit more from a personal spiritual experience, and that might be more eye-opening to help them connect than something coming from the outside to try and say, look, you're wrong. Then not that can't happen, but that's my experience with people who just they don't have that spiritual belief, and that's okay, and that's where they are. And I think one of the cool things about mindbodyspirit.fm is there are a lot of different kinds of spiritual practitioners and authors and leaders and healers and coaches and counselors and psychics and creatives and all sorts of people, and they're offering a lot of different avenues for connecting with a greater consciousness. And I think that that's really important, in this day and age, is to find the avenue that resonates with you. For some people, Sylvia Browne was the queen. She was the doorway. For some people, it was, or people like her, or the Catholic Church, or Judaism, or, meditation, whatever, so many different avenues to connecting with our heart and with spirit. And I think that's really cool that we're offering this on the podcast network as well, that there's a lot of different types of ways of seeing reality, and you get to kind of explore different paradigms and different approaches to looking at that greater reality.
Yes. I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do with the network, is mind and body and spirit. And Tina will agree that we believe that it's all connected. I mean, we have some mental health shows because we both feel that that's such an important topic to address, especially in this day and age. And we also have sober, like a sober living show, Spirit of Recovery, because we think that's such a huge issue, and people need help. Definitely. So we want people to kind of find teachers or explore wherever they're at, like you just said, wherever you are. If you're not into the angels or you're not into mediumship, that's okay. We have other things that we can offer, but it's really the connection of mind and body and spirit all together. So we're trying to build that and continue to grow, and we'll see what happens. We'll have another interview like in a year, and then hopefully I'll say we've got 100 shows on the network.
It is growing. It is growing.
We hope.
I wanted to ask you, speaking of podcasts, maybe the last question and we'll wrap up. Do you have any advice for listeners, viewers out there who have an idea of starting a spiritual podcast or show? How can one be successful in the spiritual podcast industry?
The spiritual industry, that's funny. Well, I think first of all, to I think really be authentic in your presentation and what you're teaching. And there's a lot of great resources out there to help you get started. There's a lot of podcast platforms where you could just start for free and kind of dip your toe in the water and see if it's something that you would want to do. So you can get up and going relatively inexpensively. Get yourself a decent mic and a pair of headphones. You can get the gear for under $200, on Amazon. We just missed Prime Day by the time this will air, but it's not that hard to get started. And a podcast is really a great way to get your voice and your message out there and start marketing, whether you have a book or a modality you like to teach, or you just want to get people together. So it's really easy to get started. And I think really just to be yourself and share what you're passionate about and what you want people to know about what you're teaching. And also, if you're going to do podcasting, to try to have some consistency. If you're going to be posting every week or every other week, you want to build up your audience and your message. So there's a lot of tricks and tips that I could help you with. But I think really just think about, what is the message? Why do you want to do the podcast? Why do you want to put that out there? Do you have an intention? So I think really you should think of what your intention is for it.
Yeah, that's all the great advice. And that helps me too, but that's great advice. Yeah. And there are so many, people with great messages who need to get their message out there. So if that's you listening,
yes, get it out there. And what I love about
yeah, no time like the present. Yeah.
Now's the time. I had, someone say to me, if not now, when? I mean, do it now. Time's wasting. But there's so much out there to share. There's so many people with great messages, and podcasting is a really growing and exciting medium right now, and it's open to everybody. That's what I really like about the platform as a whole.
Yeah.
When I was in radio, there were certain things you couldn't say, and I mean, you can pretty much throw it out there.
Yeah, and you used to have to, either pay or be accepted to be a radio show host. And it was really pretty difficult, not very accessible. And now, if you have a computer and a mic,
That's it.
you can get your message out. And I think that's, it's pretty amazing, in that sense, the modern world. And you are you're a great interviewer. You're also a natural just connector of people. And I can sense you really love people, and you love to connect with people and to, showcase the best in people. And you really care about being able to offer not only the connection with everyone you work with, but I think that's one of your strengths, Diane, is you can showcase someone and help someone to help audiences connect with content creators, and you can help to connect the content creators as well and create a community there. And I can just sense you really love working with people.
I do. I love helping them to shine, and I want people to succeed. I want us all to succeed. I want us all to make money and be rich and happy and all of that. Not that you need to be rich, but it helps, so, but I do want us all to succeed and all to do well. And I do like to connect people. So that is true. So yeah, we'll see. I guess we'll see where things go and grow, and hopefully that will continue. And I hope that more people will come and check out the network and listen to all of us.
It's an amazing network. Every time, I go back to the mindbodyspirit.fm homepage, I'm impressed with new content, and I think my co-hosts are fantastic, and I just really enjoy listening to so many of the shows. So thank you, Diane, so much for coming on my little show.
You're welcome. Your little corner of the internet.
Yeah, it's been so interesting to hear about your journey. And you knew Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer and starting out in rock and roll, and here you are with the mindbodyspirit.fm and just your your experience meeting all these people and being part of the, the growth of these networks. It's amazing. And you've
Thank
got
you
some
so
really cool
much.
experiences to share. So thank you. Very cool lady. Thank you for coming on, Diane.
You're welcome anytime, and we'll chat again.
I would love that. Come on my show again, please. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will continue with a collective reading. I'm gonna sign out. Thanks again, Diane.
You're welcome.
Let's transition into our collective reading for the week ahead. This is for August 21st, 2023, the week of August 21st, rather, or whenever you're tuning into this video is the right time for you to hear this message. I kind of feel energetically as I tune into the collective energy for this week ahead. Well, it's really seeing and feeling. I'm seeing this vision of like these heavy metal boxes and containers on the lower level, and on the other upper level, it's flowing and free. And it's this sense of we have maybe some heaviness, some things that are in the process of working themselves out on a lower level unconsciously. There's the gears are turning and things are moving forward, but there's a certain amount of disconnection from that. And as we let go and allow spirit to work out things and be in a state of receptivity and allowing rather than trying to overdo. On the upper level, we do have the opportunity to express ourselves and actually access quite a bit of creativity right now. And I feel like also to learn how to spend our energy wisely and make really good use of our time. Ooh, okay. I've got cloud imagination, and this is Stephen Farmer's messages from the Spirits of Nature Oracle. So here's that creativity wanting to come through. I think we do have a lot of imagination. Imagination, access to our imagination, a lot of imagination power that can be so powerful in healing and manifestation and finding solutions to problems, tuning into our sacred imagination, which really is a doorway to higher consciousness, to our higher self. I'm going to pull a tarot card. People, we've got Four of Swords. So I feel like this is the part where there's some unconscious things being worked through. This is a card of relaxation, of sleep, of meditation, of going within. This is a card of allowing our unconscious and the receptive yin parts of our psyche to do some stuff. So instead of trying to do everything yourself, allow, let go, let the universe do it for you. There's a lot of help coming towards us right now. And as we're in that receptive state, the state of positive expectation, we can actually attract the solutions to us and attract the energy, be in alignment with the energy that's moving towards solutions and progress and success and manifestation and happiness and love and all of this. So don't try too hard this week. If you feel like you're pushing, remember to let go, let God, Goddess, remember to surrender. So powerful. And use the power of your imagination this week. It can help you understand how to be more efficient with your energy, I feel. And it can help us to learn and grow and understand things from a different perspective. So using our nonlinear creative mind can help us understand better ways of solving problems, understanding people. You'll understand people better, I think, and understand there's more support on your side than you realize. And using your imagination can help you just come up with all sorts of creative ideas for the sacredness of creativity and for practical, here we go, practical Page of Pentacles is coming out, practical application. So it is a week of making practical progress. We might have some learning opportunities. This is a card of learning. So there's a learning again. I feel like this is a week of learning, and also a card of study, of financial opportunity. We are switching into the Virgo sun. people are more attuned to the nitty-gritty and the details and wanting to be more efficient. And the way we can be efficient this week is to remember the big picture and remember our big goals, use our imagination and our visualization and our intention, and then take action in accordance with those big goals, values, big picture understanding. Let the small actions and details be in service of our bigger picture. That's what I got for you this week, my friend. Allow the universe to do some of your bidding. Surrender. Take action in alignment with your goals and your visions and your sacred imagination. What intuitions and guidance are you getting through your imagination and creativity? I hope you have a beautiful, blessed beginning week of Virgo, my friend. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you next group video or session. Take care. I hope you enjoyed that video here on Creative Psyche Studio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you again for tuning in.